All right, guys, listen up. I have an assignment for you. I will actually encourage you to do something, but only if you're from Europe. It's kind of difficult to do it if you're an American. I want you to find someone that supports the European Union, like someone that really loves the European Union, that thinks that Europe is actually better with the European Union than without. And once you find that person, I want you to ask them basic questions about the EU. And I'm not even going to go and suggest that you should ask them complicated stuff like what is the European Commission? Or how do parties get to be formed inside the EU? No, because this is like incredibly complex things that, not everyone knows. No, I just want you to ask them stuff like how does a person that you select to go to the EU, how do they vote? Like, what is the voting process? Because I went around and I asked this from many people that did support the EU, and the results were astonishing, to say the least. Not in a pleasant way. And finally, I saw a video where it's actually shown how people vote. That normally this should be in every single classroom. Normally this should be taught to every single kid in the European Union before they have the age of voting requirements, so that they are aware. But unfortunately, when I was in school, this wasn't taught to me, and I don't think they're teaching it now for some reason. So let's watch the video and then comment after it.
I'm going to show you how we vote here in the European Parliament.
Everyone is taking their places now. It's very important we have our voting cards and we place them in, and you see now it's green and we have my name here. They gave us the topics the last couple of days and we went and did with my team a lot of research on what we actually believe, and we came up with these answers. When you press plus, you see there's a green. When you press minus, there is red. The leaders of the parties are showing to their parties what they need to vote.
Did you get that? Right? Now, independents that don't join parties, they get to do their research, which is fine. Like the EU already takes my money away from me, money that I can't give to my wife and kids through taxes. Well, actually, the Romanian government does, but then a part of it goes to the EU, all right? So that the people who work here, they can afford, because they're poor, right? Like people who go to the EU, they're poor and they need money. They need taxpayer cash in order to afford to have aids. And these are the team members, right, that this European Union representatives has hired in order to do the research for the laws that they're going to vote. Now, this is what the party leaders are basically instructing their party members on how to vote. My question is, what happens if you don't, though? Like, what happens if you disagree with this vote? And if you do agree, is this like what you're there to do? Like to be a little cog in a machine, to be a little robot? It's like, oh, thumbs up, okay, what next? Thumbs down, all right? Whatever, like this is not the worst thing, I gotta say. But take into account that these people are paid phenomenally well. And no one gets to talk about that. The left likes to talk about the millionaires and billionaires. No one likes to talk about the wages of our representatives. And why do they deserve to be paid this much? And why do they deserve to have access to so many perks? That is a conversation that's completely missing from any leftist dialogue. And this is their job, right? To go there and look at the man in front, and it's like, oh, thumbs up, all right, thumbs down, all right. Because you gotta understand, like, this is optional. You don't have to do this. Like, you don't have to do the research. You can just look at the man in front of you and see how he tells you to vote, and you get paid for it.
Parties are showing to their parties what they need to vote, yes or no.
Since I don't belong to any party, I don't need to follow anyone. I can make my own decisions. We spend more than 30 minutes voting on hundreds of different details, and surprisingly, it requires a lot of focus to not miss anything because we are voting very fast.
Is this normal? Is this a fair system? Like, we need to be very careful because we are voting very fast. Like, what? These are things that influence the lives of hundreds of millions of people. And you're telling me that... And by the way, like, this seems like a chap that actually wants to do the job. And take into account, I don't know, like, how people feel after 4 years of doing this shit, let alone 10. Because, like, after a while, you kind of get bored with it. It just becomes normal. You know, you get desensitized. It's normal for any job. Like if you're a surgeon, you know, the first time you see a human that's cut open, it gives you, a feeling of, ugh, right? It's normal. Like, but like, after you do the 1,000 surgery, you're kind of numb to it. It's like every single job is the same. Even a soldier, like, the first time he takes someone's life, he's going to feel in a way that's different than after he's been in combat for years, you know? So my point is, like, do they not get used to it, and then at some point they just become apathetic? Isn't that... But here's another question that I have. Why do we need so many laws, though? Like what's wrong with the laws that we have up until now? Because every single law that I see is kind of lowering my living standard to some degree. If it's not increasing my taxes, it's restricting some of my rights. I mean, they're even talking now about, oh, can we ban Twitter or not? Like, I do my business on Twitter. I actually need it. Do you ask me? No, you don't give a fuck, right? The reason they want to ban Twitter is because they don't want people talking with each other and getting crazy ideas like maybe, you know, we need to restructure the EU. Or is it fair that the EU was actually a trade agreement and it was promoted as such, but now it's trying to become a federal state? And they're passing so many legislation that if you're not paying attention in 30 minutes, you can miss a couple? Right? Like, is this not a conversation worthy to be had? So, another task that I want you to ask Europhiles is, in the last 3 years, right? So, because there are some legislations that are good, but like in the last 3 years, see if they can name a single legislation that came from the EU, just one, that actually improved his living conditions. Now, I'm not talking about social things. I'm not talking about, they passed this and it's so wonderful because it's social progress. No. Like, I want you to tell me, like, this legislation has passed, and this is why my life is better. Like, maybe they lowered your taxes. Maybe they helped your business somehow. You know, I'm not saying it's not possible that you can find someone, but, like, can you find a legislation, a law? And I'm not talking about the grant either, right? No. Like, a piece of legislation that was passed, and you're like, I'm so glad this passed. There was one that I actually liked, and for some reason that didn't pass. I don't know what happened to it. Like, maybe it's still in debate. But one of the worst things in life is the difference between winter and summer when it comes to the clock, right? The daylight saving bullshit. And that used to fuck me up a lot. It still fucks me up today, especially if you're doing business with people that are international. Like, then you have to change and reorganize. It's very annoying, right? So the European Union was like, all right, let's get rid of this. And I was like, you know what? That's actually great. Like, I am so happy that there is actually a piece of legislation that I can benefit from. No more daylight savings. And I don't know why they didn't do it. I think they were complaining about how it would affect plane travels and shit. It's like confusion and whatever. So I don't know what's happening with that. But again, like that would be an example of a law that would actually affect me in a positive way. So if you know anyone that loves the European Union, can they name me like a couple of legislation that passed again in the last 3 years, which improved their life, and explain how? I'll see you guys in the comment sections. Take care.